Yeah. Yeah, it was more mining back here then than it is right now. But a lot of these guys are starting to put rocks in the box. They almost having to. Because they got claims, you know, and they're living on them. Yeah, they fish and mine a while. They come down with a little gold. Well, they don't know how to do it. Not good yet.
Part of it was sort of a desire for a change in lifestyle. I didn't want to get a job. And my college education was sort of locking me into the city, so I decided I wanted to get into something that wouldn't do that. And I've been coming up here since '52 to Hayfork, and my grandfather's been on a claim down there, so I had a little bit of taste of mining and decided to get into it. It's sort of one of the areas where a man can still be, has a remnant of independence.
Well, I come over here from over there at Yuba River in 1932. I was over there working in the, now that was the first year of the Depression. Well, I heard a story of this country over there at North San Juan. There was a guy had been over here in the spring, and he was just telling how it was over here, and I heard part of the story. I had some partners then. I said, get that guy started again. I want to hear the whole works. So they got around, they got him started, and he told all about it, clear to old Denny. He told about the gold. He says, coarse gold up there, and there's good fishing and hunting, and they're just building the road in there. So when we split up, I said, what do you guys say about that? Well, it's all right with us. We bought a 30-30 rifle for $5. One of the guys had a full box of shells. The Herald began to get up in there then.
I was born in the city. I knew that I wasn't going to stay there the rest of my life. I just knew I had to be in the, well, the western states anyway, at least. So it seemed natural, I guess, in a way. And after I got here, I looked at all the maps, and there's places all over this country named after one of the family, I think. It was Gibson Peak, Gibson Gulch, Gibson Meadow, and, you know, all those names on the map. So I figured, well, maybe I'm just following one of my great uncles around, you know. It seemed natural enough. So I just finally drifted over this way, you know. I guess I liked it. I lived out of my backpack for a couple of years or so, just up and down the river, and got a burro and used that for a while. And I finally got a chance to buy this claim in '69, and since then I've been using this as my base camp. Something, I guess, ever since I was a little kid. It just, I'd pick up a stone when I was a kid. Before I'd show the stone, I'd look at it, study it, try to see, figure out what it was made of, you know. Then I got to reading geology books off and on, you know, and just pick it up a little here and there. By the way, I used to carry a big, thick book in my backpack. It weighed more than my groceries. So it helped you know, identify certain things. Sure. Like I say, you can only learn so much. And I decided I wasn't going to be a mining engineer anyway. Just going to be an old prospector someday.
Yeah, I met Sig, and he was the most outrageous person I'd ever met. He was always doing something really exciting, building tree houses to live in, and living in a chicken coop. And we just were looking in the paper one day and saw an ad for a mining claim, and came and looked at it. And that was the beginning. Next thing I knew, I was 9 months pregnant and moving to the mountains. It just flowed, you know, like I used to worry about being so far away from a doctor and what I was going to do about refrigeration. I was so conditioned to living under city ways that when I got up here, everything just fell into place, and I realized that all the things I thought were really important or that we really had to have, we didn't. You know? As the years gone by, we figure out less and less that we need to live happily and comfortably. It worked out really great.
Alongside of the tunnel, you drive poles in to keep the bank from falling in on you. And you drive poles like this size right through the top. Only a lot of it sticks out here. You take a wooden mallet, and as you go into the mountain, you tap the ones in ahead of you, so that when you're working in here, these timbers are over your head, so no rocks will fall down and kill you.
There was no running water or sink or anything. It was pretty primitive. The cabin was built in the 20s. You know, people have lived in it off and on, but mostly old bachelors and things who weren't too particular. But it just brought an incredible amount of stuff. A lot of stuff we didn't need. This big giant refrigerator that we never hooked up. And well, most of it we've accumulated since we've been here.
Leaf spring out of a car, and took a cold chisel and cut that bolt off and separated these leaf springs. Then I heated it and cut off what I wanted to use with the cold chisel. When it's red hot, it cuts pretty good. After I got the piece of steel, I take and strike a pattern with your cold chisel. Then you take the steel and set it in a vise and start to file it. Drill a couple of holes in here for rivets and use what you have, bone or wood or whatever you have, to make a handle. Put the edge on it. This edge is just about right.
Nick's really creative, you know. I don't know what he'd do if he had a whole pile of the perfect material to build something. I don't know if he could do it. He's so used to improvising. When I first moved up here, I thought it was the end of the world. You know, like I was just moving out to the outback, and I was never going to see anybody again. And it's, you're not that far from civilization. all you gotta do is listen to the news and read the newspapers and know that it's out there, not too far away. It's great for kids. That's the main thing I worry about. It's really a natural place for kids to grow up. And these kids are really agile and coordinated.
Get out.
They love it. Take them swimming every day.
You take the fro and you set it up on your bolt, strike it with a wooden mallet, and off comes the shake, how thick you want them. Brian's house is all made out of shakes. We cut a couple of $1,000 for it. Now we beat Henry David Thoreau on the cost of this one. Cost him $23 for his house, and this one cost $6.
They couldn't go back to the city. I could. I'm pretty adaptable, but he'd just wither up and die. I know it. If he had to go back and work 8 to 5, he'd just die. Zeke hasn't been to the city since Zachary was born 3.5 years ago. He hasn't been any farther than Garberville, and that's too far. But when he takes a vacation, he goes farther back in the mountains. That's a vacation for him. Maybe 1 in 1,000 people would want to even try this, or 1 in 1,000,000, but still the opportunity should be there.
Kids grow up in the country, that's all they know, and then as soon as they're old enough to get away, they go to the city and get a job. But they always remember the country, so they eventually get back to it, and then their children, it goes in cycles. They're raised up in the country, well, they head for the city, and those in the city are always trying to get to the country.
The 1872 mining law to encourage people to go out on the public lands and stake mining claims and ultimately maybe patent them, which gave people title to the land. There was also the homestead laws, which allowed them to do the same. The Taylor Grazing Act and other land laws were designed to dispose of the public land. Since that, for about the last 30 or 40 years, there's been thoughts of changing this 1872 law, which allows a person to go out and, after having made a discovery of valuable minerals, they could stake a claim, a 20-acre mining claim, or in the case of a lode mine, hard rock, they could stake it along the course of the vein and actually take possession of the land. And so that on my claim here, I have these rocks are my personal property. And the reason the 1872 laws, some of the reasons that it is really good is, first of all, it was designed by miners. Miners are the ones that drew up the original laws, and they knew the workings of the miners in the fields and what problems that occur about conflicts on mining claims and such, so that they developed a really good law. And it's designed with sort of free enterprise and individual rights in mind, that a man can go out and stake that claim, and he has a right to what he found. Nobody can take that away from him. I would rather see a lot of little people like me out here looking than have Kennecott Copper or somebody come in and take up all the minerals in Trinity County and do their own thing and just eliminate, the little guy.
Oh, I thought it was all right if a guy could make a living in the mountains without working for the other guy. Why, he'd be all right. And if he'd learn enough about it, maybe in time he could make just as much as he could if he was a farmer or anything else. If he could strike it good enough. And our gold used to be pretty low, in price. It's up pretty good now. It's $164.50 this morning. an ounce. Used to be $20 during the Depression days. It was just $20 an ounce. The mint gave $20.67. That was the mint price. Now that had to be $1,000 fine. Treated, you know, this river go and bring about maybe $16.50 or something like that.
Did you have a pretty tough time in the Depression?
No. No. I didn't miss a meal. I might have postponed a few, but I didn't miss many.
The Forest Service, even in the 1872 mining law, is given the authority to oversee the national forest land, which are also open to mineral entry. So the Forest Service has somewhere along the line decided that it's difficult for them to administer the forest lands if we're out there living on them. So they are in the process, and no matter what they say to the contrary, they are in the process of eliminating residences in the national forest. First, the Fish and Game man came down and he said, "You're altering the stream bed. You have to have a permit to do that, but it's free, you know, everything is fine." So I said, "Fine, give me a permit to alter the stream bed." So I went ahead and was altering down there, and so he said, "You'll have to come back on the 1st of the year and get it renewed." So I went back to him at the 1st of the year, and he said, "Well, this time I think maybe you ought to contact the Water Quality Control Board, which is down in Santa Rosa." So, and he said, "It's no big deal, just send them a little brief plan of your operations and tell them pretty much what you're doing, everything will be fine." So I did that, you know, on a little piece of paper. I drew my water ditches and where my cut was on the claim and basically the whole layout. And they sent me back a great big 8x11 packet about that thick of information to fill out, plus they wanted $100, you see, to fill it out. So, and a lot of the questions they ask, you know, about parts per million of silt that might get into the creek and this and that, those are things that I don't really know, you know, I have no way of measuring. I'm president of the Western Mining Council, sort of watching over the interests of 31,000 miners and prospectors. Miners in general, the miners and prospectors always like to be secluded, independent, self-sustaining, and that's one of the things that I find attractive about being able to do it, you know, that you don't have to play the game so much. We've lost a generation of miners because it wasn't profitable to work it, say, from the 40s up until the 60s. So you've lost all of the city dads and the people in their affluent 40s and 50s. And so, and then now you're getting a lot of young people that are into this idea of lifestyle changes and, you know, making a living off working the ground or something. So you get a lot of young people and a lot of old people are pretty good. And it's amazing that they can accept each other, you know, because a lot of the old-timers are rednecks, and they don't like hippies, you know, but if the hippie is a miner, well, then that's all right, you know.
I was in here in the fall, he and his wife. I thought I recognized them walking up there, you know. I keep on looking. Don't you remember me? I thought it was a guy they called Smokey. He was back up here. No, it wasn't him at all. They all look kind of alike. That is, if the hair is the same color, dress about the same. Yeah, about the same height. Well, you can't tell them. I guess they're covered up. Never shave. Some of them just keep letting their hair grow and they get worse. The little guy up here that comes along here diving, he's got more whiskers than old Methuselah. Long hair and long whiskers, they just keep it growing.
When I first started college, I was going to be a pharmacist, so I took things like zoology, botany, chemistry, and those things, living in the woods, you know, and working with plants and gardening, and the chemistry has helped in the lab. We're doing some platinum metal research. The psychology, economics, the other stuff I took, I'm not sure how that has helped me out, except that college as an experience is pretty good at kind of, as a mind expanding experience. It gives you the ability to question, you know, or to investigate, to be a good skeptic. Well, this is my grandfather's tunnel, and the main purpose for driving this tunnel is to get him some gravity water for the house and for some of the mining operations down below. But we've also discovered some real interesting rock up here that we think carries some precious metals. He taught me how to fish, hunt, be a carpenter, plumber, chemist. In the summer when I'd come up here, my brother and I'd help him do his assessment work on his mining claim, you know. And so we learned how to placer mine pretty much. And then up here, especially when you're mining, if you don't have a lot of money or something, then you got to think of every job that comes up, you got to think more in terms of how could I do this myself, you know. And fortunately, he's always had a lot of tools. He's been a mechanic and a lot of things, had a lot of tools to work with, so. We built that house that he's living in right now, that little back house. If I ever have any questions, mechanical questions or something like that, I know he's got some pretty good thoughts on it. Because after 75 years, you know, he's seen a lot of the problems that most people encounter, you know, trying to make things go.
Found this place and liked it, saw what potential it had, so that it was up for sale by the state at the time. So I bid on it, and it was awarded to me, and so I've been here ever since. Then the first years I was here, I just did sluice boxing, and a little mining and stuff like that, getting the feel of what we had. And then about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, why I discovered the platinum metals. I'm always interested in metals and minerals, and after I come here, I discovered where I was, that I was in the platinum country. So I started gathering information and building up little test things and everything, and studying it and working on it. Now, I haven't had any outside help, what I mean, from other chemists or nothing like that. It's just been my own research work. I've thrown away an awful lot of acid. I've thrown away an awful lot of samples, and but I've learned something out of what I did throw away. Finally, I got down to where I've got it worked out now that I am sure. Now, my products have been tested. I haven't sold any yet, because they want quantity. To make a sale, you have to have quantity. I left Louisiana in 1928. Well, I was in Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona, and the mining deal there, see. And done research work in Denver on the cyaniding process of silver. Of course, that was a long time ago, 1921, 22. See, I've seen from 1899 to now, I've seen a lot of changes. From the horse and buggy days, clear on up to the moonshot days. And that's a big change.
I went panning with a friend and got interested in the Yuba River. And the next summer, me and a bunch of guys got together and went up the American River. We spent a couple of months just panning and sluicing on the river and camping out, fishing. Didn't find much gold, but we had a lot of fun. Well, after a few years, you pick up stuff, books, from talking to people, and mostly from just doing it. One day of working with an old-timer is like 6 months working by yourself.
Now, there's a few claims back up there yet. There's some creeks that has gold on it, but it wasn't good enough to work in the early days. Now, when all these claims on the creeks where they mine, and these other places, now they'll take them too. There's gold on them. They don't know how much, but they... Now, it wouldn't have paid in the olden days, maybe it would today. People didn't have no machinery or anything. That winch, I was the only one that had a winch back there like that, and a block and some cable. I got along all right. Because I could turn them big boulders over, and I got some gold all right. All them other guys had to moss and scratch crevasses along the bank. Pretty hard to do. Make very much. Now we come down to the river and we pan. We got gold and decided to stay right up here. Yeah, I wandered all over this mountain up here that summer. I'd knock me out a little steak there and go down and buy me some grub. Oh, hell yeah, blackberries are getting ripe. They began to make cobblers. So, I guess, you know, we just had platters of fish, anything we wanted. Money in our pocket. All we had to do was just get some rocks in the bucket. The early days up here, mostly older guys come in. The other depression. Now this time they're mostly young. That's the difference.